Get out! You don't belong here, Roach.
I was invited, and I'm not going anywhere.
Look at you. Same broke, dirty, nothing boy I threw away.
You didn't throw me away, Brooke. You just weren't smart enough to hold on.
The room gasped. Brooke's face twisted. Then she laughed, a loud, ugly laugh.
Hold on! To what? You were my biggest mistake. The loser I left. Somebody get this trash out of my wedding.
Nobody moved. Then a voice came from behind her,
What are you doing?
staring at the black man's face, his jaw locked, his hands shaking.
Babe, it's nothing. Just some nobody who...
Stop talking.
2 words, and the bride's smile died right there on her lips. And what happened next turned that wedding into something nobody in that room will ever forget. 8 years ago, Landon Blake was mopping floors at 2 in the morning. Not because he wanted to, because he had to. Full scholarship at a university in Richmond, Virginia. But the scholarship didn't cover food, books, or the studio apartment he shared with 2 other guys. So he worked. Overnight janitor at the campus library Monday through Thursday. Weekend catering shifts at hotel banquets where rich kids threw parties he'd never be invited to. That's where he met Brooke Davenport. She was everything he wasn't. Old money, sorority president, the kind of girl who never carried her own bags. Her father, Craig Davenport, owned half the commercial real estate in Northern Virginia. Brooke grew up in a house with a name, not an address, a name. They dated for 2 years, and for a while it worked. Landon was smart, quiet, driven. Brooke liked that. She liked showing him off to her friends. The boyfriend from the other side of town, the one who earned everything himself. It made her feel generous, progressive, open-minded. Until it didn't. It started small. She stopped inviting him to sorority events, stopped tagging him in photos. When her friends asked about him, she'd change the subject. And then one night at a Greek Week party, 40, maybe 50 people packed into a frat house basement, she ended it. Not in private, not with a conversation. She did it with an audience. "I need someone with actual ambition," she said, loud enough for the whole room to hear. "Not a charity case with a mop." Landon didn't argue, didn't shout. He set down his drink, looked at her for about 3 seconds, and walked out the front door. He never spoke to her again. What happened after that, Brooke never saw. She never saw him finish top of his class, never saw the MBA at Northwestern, never saw the 2 years at a boutique investment firm in Chicago where he tripled their returns. And she definitely never saw him, at 28 years old, launch his own private equity fund, Axiom Ventures. By 30, Axiom managed $800 million in assets. By 32, $2.8 billion. Landon Blake had become one of the most quietly powerful investors in the Midwest. No social media, no press interviews, no public photos. Every meeting ran through his VP of Operations, Nina Castillo, or through his legal team. If you didn't sit across a table from him, you didn't know his face. And that's exactly how he wanted it. Now, present day, a Saturday in June, the Belmont Grand Hotel in Richmond, Virginia, the same city where Brooke once called him a charity case. 300 guests filled a ballroom dripping with crystal and white roses. A 12-piece orchestra played soft jazz near a dance floor polished like glass. Ice sculptures, monogrammed napkins, a 5-tier cake that probably cost more than Landon's old apartment. This was Brooke Davenport's wedding day, and she had planned every single detail. The groom was Tyler Sullivan, 31, founder of a logistics tech startup called Stratos Freight. Smart kid, good energy, the kind of guy who built something real from a dorm room idea. But here's the thing about Tyler's company. The only reason it still existed was because of one investor. One fund had written the entire $90 million Series C check. One name sat at the top of the cap table, Axiom Ventures. Tyler had never met the founder, not once. All correspondence went through Nina. Video calls were camera off. Tyler didn't even know what the guy looked like. He just knew the Axiom team was important, so he sent them a wedding invitation, a courtesy, a thank you. He had no idea what he'd just done. Landon almost declined. He had the envelope in his hand, ready to toss it, when he flipped the invitation open and read the bride's name. Brooke Davenport. He stared at it for a long time. Nina was the one who convinced him to go. "It's a business relationship," she said. "Show up, shake hands, leave." So he went. Black suit, no watch, no flash. A town car dropped him and Nina at the hotel entrance, and they walked into a ballroom full of people who had no idea who he was. Landon scanned the room. His eyes landed on the Davenport family crest, printed on the welcome banner above the entrance. He exhaled slowly. This was going to be a long night. Landon found his seat, table 22, back corner of the ballroom near the service entrance. He glanced at the seating chart on the way in. No Axiom Ventures listed anywhere near the head table or VIP section. Just two names tucked at the bottom of the list. Table 22, right next to the kitchen. Nina noticed it too. She raised an eyebrow. Table 22. Romantic. "We're not here for romance," Landon said. "We're here for 45 minutes. Handshake. Congratulations. Out." 45 minutes, Nina repeated. She didn't believe it either. The cocktail hour was already underway. Waiters moved between clusters of guests, carrying trays of shrimp cocktail and sparkling water. The orchestra shifted into something slow and warm. Guests laughed in groups of 4 and 5, holding champagne flutes like accessories. Landon sat still, hands folded, watching. That's when Brooke saw him. She was doing what she called her grand entrance walk, moving through the cocktail area, hugging guests, accepting compliments, letting people admire the dress. She floated from table to table like a queen surveying her kingdom, and then she passed table 22. She stopped mid-step. Her champagne flute froze halfway to her lips. Landon. 8 years. Same face, same calm eyes, same quiet stillness that used to make her feel like he was always thinking something she couldn't reach. The shock lasted 2 seconds. Then her jaw tightened. She grabbed a bridesmaid by the elbow and pulled her close. "Why is he here?" "Who?" "Him. Table 22. The black guy." The bridesmaid squinted. "I don't know. Isn't that the investor table?" Brooke then answered. She smoothed her gown, lifted her chin, and walked straight toward him. 2 bridesmaids trailed behind her like backup dancers. She didn't whisper. She didn't pull him aside. She stopped right in front of his table where 8 other guests were already seated and spoke loud enough for all of them to hear. "Landon? Landon Blake?" A smile that wasn't a smile. "I didn't know they were letting just anyone walk in off the street." Landon stood, slowly. He extended his hand. "Congratulations, Brooke. You look beautiful." She looked at his hand like it was covered in dirt, didn't take it. "I hope you're not here thinking you still have a chance." She tilted her head. "Because that ship didn't just sail, baby. It sank, with you on it." The guests at table 22 shifted in their seats. One woman looked down at her plate. A man cleared his throat. Landon lowered his hand. "I'm here as a guest of the Groom, that's all." "A guest of the Groom?" Brooke laughed. "Tyler doesn't know you." "He knows my company." She ignored that. She turned to the bridesmaids behind her and pointed at Landon with her champagne glass. "Girls, this is the one I told you about, the janitor, my community service era." She looked back at him. "You remember, right, Landon? The mop, the rubber gloves, the 2 a.m. floor scrubbing?" She wrinkled her nose. "I can still smell the bleach on you." One bridesmaid forced a laugh. The other looked away. Landon said nothing. He sat back down, unfolded his napkin, and placed it on his lap. Like she wasn't there. That made it worse. "Oh, so now you're ignoring me," Brooke leaned in. "You came to my wedding uninvited, looking like a Goodwill catalog, and now you're ignoring me?" "I didn't come uninvited," Landon said quietly, "and I'm not ignoring you. I'm choosing not to engage." "Choosing not to engage." She mocked his voice. "Listen to you, still acting like you're better than what you are." Nina's hand tightened around her water glass. Her knuckles went white. Landon put his hand gently on her arm. A signal. Not yet. Brooke turned on her heel and walked back toward the bridal party. Over her shoulder, "Just stay out of the way, Landon. This is my day." She was gone. But the damage stayed. The other guests at table 22 avoided eye contact. One couple quietly moved to a different table. A waiter came by and asked if Landon needed anything. His voice was careful, gentle, the kind of tone people use when they've just watched something painful and don't know what to say. Landon shook his head. "I'm fine, thank you." He wasn't fine, but he sat still. Then came Craig Davenport, Brooke's father, mid-60s, silver hair, blue suit, gold cufflinks the size of quarters. He walked like a man who'd never been told no. He stopped at table 22, looked down at Landon, and didn't sit. "Son," he said it like the word tasted bad. "I don't know how you got in here, but this is a private event for family and friends. If you weren't invited—" "I was invited, Mr. Davenport." Landon pulled the invitation from his jacket pocket. Cream-colored envelope, gold lettering, Tyler and Brooke's names embossed on the front. Craig took it, held it up to the light like he was checking for a counterfeit bill, turned it over, read the names. He handed it back, didn't apologize. "Just stay out of the way," he said. Same words as Brooke, same tone. Like father, like daughter. He walked away. Landon tucked the invitation back into his pocket. Nina leaned over. "Give me one reason we're still here." "Tyler Sullivan," Landon said. "He's the reason." The ceremony started 20 minutes later. White chairs arranged in perfect rows, rose petals on the aisle. Pastor Dennis Moore stood at the front, Bible in hand, reading from Corinthians about love being patient, love being kind. Landon watched from the back row. The irony hit different. Brooke walked down the aisle like she was walking a runway. Head high, smile perfect. She didn't glance at table 22, not once. Tyler stood at the altar, beaming. He looked like a man who believed every good thing in his life had led to this moment. He had no idea that the person funding all of it was sitting 15 rows back, wearing a suit that still smelled faintly of red wine that hadn't been spilled yet. The vows were beautiful. Tyler's voice cracked when he said, "I promise to protect you." Brooke's voice was steady, rehearsed, camera-ready. Pastor Moore pronounced them husband and wife. The ballroom erupted in applause. Landon clapped politely. Nina didn't. Reception. Dinner service. The orchestra kicked up. Guests moved to the bar, to the dance floor, to the photo booth in the corner. Landon stayed at table 22, but Brooke came back. This time she had wine in her hand. Red. She was looser now, louder. 2 glasses in, maybe 3. "You're still here?" She stood over him. "What are you waiting for, a tip?" "Just enjoying the evening," Landon said. "Enjoying the evening." She repeated it slowly, dripping with contempt. "You know what I enjoy? Looking at you and knowing I made the right call. 8 years ago, I looked at you and saw exactly what you were. Nothing. A charity case, a project. And I dropped you like every smart woman should." She leaned down, close enough that he could smell the Merlot on her breath. "You will never be good enough for a room like this, Landon. You know it. I know it. Everyone here knows it." Landon looked at her, steady, calm. "Are you done?" "I'm just getting started." She straightened up, smiled at a passing guest, then turned back to him, and the wine glass tilted. Red wine poured down the front of his white dress shirt. Slow, deliberate. Her hand was steady. Her eyes didn't blink. "Oh, no!" She covered her mouth with her free hand. Mock horror. "I'm so sorry, but honestly, that shirt has seen better days anyway." Nina shot to her feet. "That's enough!" Landon stood, slowly. He looked down at the stain spreading across his chest. Then he looked at Brooke. He unbuttoned his jacket, took it off, folded it once, twice, placed it neatly over the back of his chair. White shirt soaked red from collar to belt. "Enjoy your night, Brooke," he said. Same words as before, same voice, like nothing had happened. He sat back down. Brooke stared at him. For a half-second, something flickered across her face, something that might have been doubt. Then it was gone. She turned and walked back to the dance floor. Nina sat down beside Landon. Her jaw was tight enough to crack a walnut. 45 minutes, she said. Landon looked at his wine-stained shirt. Yeah, 45 minutes.
Dinner service ended.
The plates cleared. The orchestra softened into background music while guests refilled their glasses and settled in for speeches. The best man went first. Funny, light. A college story about Tyler losing his laptop the night before a pitch competition. The crowd laughed. Tyler buried his face in his hands, grinning. Then a bridesmaid, sweet and short. Something about how Brooke always knew exactly what she wanted. And now she's got it. Applause. Then Brooke stood up. Nobody asked her to speak. It wasn't on the program. But she took the microphone from the DJ like she'd been waiting for it all night. I just want to say a few things. She smiled at the crowd. Camera ready. Polished. First, thank you all for being here. This is the happiest day of my life. Applause. Thank you to my incredible parents who taught me that I deserve the best. She raised her glass toward Craig. He nodded like a king accepting tribute. And to my beautiful bridesmaids, you girls are everything. More applause, more smiles. Then her tone shifted, subtle, like a cloud sliding across the sun. You know, I think every woman has that moment where she looks back at her life and realizes what she almost settled for. She paused, let the words land. I had that moment, years ago. I was young and stupid, and I almost threw my future away on someone who had nothing, no ambition, no vision, no future. She looked directly at table 22. Every guest in the room followed her eyes. But I woke up. I chose better. I chose higher. And tonight, standing here in this dress, in this room, with this man, she reached for Tyler's hand. I know I made the right call. Tyler squeezed her hand. He was smiling, but his eyes were confused. He followed her gaze to the back of the room, to a man in a wine-stained white shirt sitting perfectly still. Tyler didn't understand. Not yet. The applause came, but it was thinner this time. Scattered. Some guests clapped out of obligation. Others just stared at their plates. At table 22, Nina's grip on her fork was so tight it was bending. Landon sat motionless. His face betrayed nothing. But under the table, his right hand was clenched into a fist so tight his knuckles ached. The speeches ended. The DJ started playing. Guests drifted toward the dance floor and the bar. Tyler saw his chance. He'd been trying to get to the Axiom table all night. He straightened his tie, grabbed 2 glasses of champagne, and walked toward table 22 with the kind of nervous energy a founder carries when he's about to meet the people who write the checks. Hey, hi. He set a glass down in front of Nina. I'm Tyler Sullivan. Are you with Axiom Ventures? Nina smiled, professional, warm. Nina Castillo, VP of Operations. It's great to finally meet you in person, Tyler.
Likewise.
Seriously, I've been wanting to say thank you face to face for... And this, Nina said, gesturing to her left, is... A hand closed around Tyler's arm, tight. Babe. Brooke appeared from nowhere. Her fingers dug into his sleeve. They're about to do the cake. Come on. Just give me 1 second. I'm meeting the... Now, Tyler. She didn't wait for an answer. She pulled him away from the table like a mother dragging a child out of a candy store. Tyler looked back over his shoulder at Nina, mouthing the word, sorry. Nina's introduction died mid-sentence. Landon sat untouched. The second champagne glass Tyler had brought sat on the table, still full, bubbles fading. In the hallway behind the ballroom, Brooke dropped the smile. I don't want you talking to that man. Tyler frowned. What man? The Axiom people? Brooke, they're my biggest investors. I can't just... He's my ex. She said it flat, hard. He's nobody. He was nobody then and he's nobody now. I don't want him near us. Your ex? Tyler's face shifted. You never mentioned... Because there's nothing to mention. He's a loser, Tyler. A broke, pathetic loser who showed up here to embarrass me. She grabbed both of his hands, softened her voice. Baby, it's our wedding day. Don't let him ruin it, please. Tyler looked at her. Something in his gut didn't sit right, but it was his wedding day. The cake was waiting. 300 people were watching. He let it go. Okay, he said. Okay. They walked back in together. Brooke's smile returned like a switch had been flipped. At table 22, Landon watched them re-enter the ballroom. He said nothing. Nina leaned in. She physically pulled him away from us. I saw. Landon, this is... I know what this is. Across the room, a bridesmaid held up her phone. Instagram story. She panned the camera across the dance floor, the cake, the decorations, and accidentally caught Brooke pointing at table 22, face twisted with anger mid-sentence. The clip was 15 seconds. She posted it without watching it back. Another guest, a college friend of Tyler's, typed a tweet from the bar. The bride at this wedding is unhinged, Limao. Someone come get her. He hit send while waiting for his old-fashioned. Neither of them knew what they'd just lit. The cake was cut. Photos were taken. The first dance happened. Tyler and Brooke swaying under a spotlight while the orchestra played something soft and sweet. From a distance, they looked perfect. Then came Gail Sullivan, Tyler's mother, mid-60s, silver bob, a quiet woman who noticed everything and said very little. She had been watching Brooke all night, watching the pointed looks at table 22, watching the wine incident from across the room, watching her new daughter-in-law's face change every time she looked at the black man in the back corner. Gail didn't approach the bridal table. She walked to table 22. She pulled out a chair and sat next to Landon like she belonged there. I saw what happened earlier, she said. With the wine and the speech. She paused. I'm sorry, that is not how we raised our son. Landon looked at her. For the first time all night, something in his expression softened. Thank you, Mrs. Sullivan. That means more than you know. Gail, she corrected. And may I ask your name? Landon. Landon Blake. She didn't recognize it. She had no reason to, but she filed it away. Well, Landon, she touched his arm briefly. Whatever her problem is with you, it says everything about her and nothing about you. She stood and walked back to her table. Landon watched her go. Nina exhaled slowly beside him. 45 minutes was 2 hours ago, Nina said. Landon almost smiled. Almost. The DJ slowed the music. Guests gathered near the dance floor for the bouquet toss. Laughter, clinking glasses. The party rolled on. But Brooke wasn't done. She found Landon one more time, this time on the edge of the dance floor, where the largest group of guests had gathered. She was louder now, sloppier. 4 glasses in, the polish was gone. You're still here? She threw her arms wide. What is this, some kind of sick joke? You came here to see what you missed out on? Let me save you the suspense. She spun in a slow circle, arms out, gown catching the light. Everything. You missed everything. Guests stopped dancing. The music kept playing, but nobody moved. This man, she pointed at Landon with her champagne glass, used to clean toilets for a living, mopped floors for minimum wage, and now he shows up at my wedding like he's somebody. She laughed. You're not somebody, Landon. You never were. Landon stood still. His wine-stained shirt glowed under the dance floor lights. His hands were at his sides. His face was stone. He looked at her for a long moment. Then he said quietly, Are you finished? I'm finished when I say I'm finished. Then say it, because I've heard enough. The room held its breath, and from across the dance floor, footsteps, fast, deliberate. Tyler Sullivan was walking straight toward them, and the look on his face said he was done waiting for the cake. Tyler crossed the dance floor in 6 steps. His jaw was locked. His boutonniere was crooked. He looked like a man who just swallowed something sharp. Brooke! He didn't shout. He didn't need to. The room was already silent. What the hell is going on? She grabbed his arm. Babe, it's nothing. I told you. He's just some... I heard what you said. Tyler pulled his arm free. The whole room heard what you said. He turned away from her, walked straight to Landon, stopped 2 feet in front of him. 300 guests watching. The orchestra had stopped. Even the bartender had put down the shaker. "I'm sorry," Tyler said, "for everything that's happened tonight. I've been trying to get to your table all evening." He extended his hand. "I'm Tyler Sullivan, the groom." Landon looked at the hand. Then he took it, firm, steady. "I know who you are, Tyler." "Are you with Axiom? I've been trying to meet the team all night, but—" He glanced back at Brooke. The sentence didn't need finishing. Nina stood. She straightened her blazer, took 1 step forward. "Tyler," she said, "I'm Nina Castillo, VP of Operations at Axiom Ventures. We've spoken on the phone." "Nina, yes, of course." Tyler shook her hand. "It's great to finally—" "And this," Nina said, "is Landon Blake." Tyler nodded, polite, waiting. "Founder and CEO of Axiom Ventures." The words hung in the air like smoke. Tyler blinked. His hand was still holding Landon's. His grip went slack. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. "You're—" He couldn't finish. "Your lead investor," Nina said. "The one who wrote the $90 million check." Tyler dropped Landon's hand. Not rudely, involuntarily, like his body forgot how to work. He took 1 step back. His face was white, not pale, white. The kind of white that happens when your brain processes something your body isn't ready for. He turned around, slowly, and looked at Brooke. She was standing 10 feet away. Her champagne glass was still in her hand. Her smile was gone, replaced by something else. Confusion. The kind of confusion that comes right before understanding. Right before the floor drops out. "What?" she said. "Why are you looking at me like that?" "Brooke." Tyler's voice was barely above a whisper, but in a silent ballroom, a whisper carries. "The man you just called a nobody. The man you poured wine on. The man you've been humiliating all night in front of every person I know." He pointed at Landon. "That's Landon Blake. He's the founder of Axiom Ventures. He's the reason I have a company. He's the reason our 200 employees have jobs. He's the reason we could afford this hotel, this dress, this ring, this entire wedding." Each sentence landed like a hammer, each one louder than the last. Brooke's champagne glass tilted. Wine ran down her fingers. She didn't notice. "That's—" She shook her head. "No, that's not— He was a janitor. He was broke. He was—" "He was your boyfriend," Tyler said. "And you never told me that either." The room was so quiet Landon could hear the ice melting in the nearest glass. Brooke looked at Landon. Really looked at him. For the first time all night, she wasn't performing. She wasn't posturing. She was calculating. Running the math. Wine-stained shirt. Calm face. No watch. No flash. Nothing that screamed money. But Nina's blazer had the Axiom logo on the lapel. And Tyler, her husband of 3 hours, was standing between them looking like he'd just been punched in the chest. "That's not possible," Brooke whispered. Landon straightened his cuffs, the ones that still had red wine on them. "Congratulations on your wedding, Tyler," he said. Same calm voice, same steady eyes. "Your Q3 numbers were impressive. The board was pleased." Not a word to Brooke, not even a glance. Tyler stood frozen. His brain was doing the math, too. $90 million, 200 employees, his entire Series C, his company's future, every contract, every hire, every server, every payroll, all flowing from the man his wife had spent the last 3 hours treating like dirt. Craig Davenport pushed through the crowd. He'd heard Tyler's voice carry across the room. "What's going on here? Tyler, what—" "Your daughter," Tyler said without turning around, "just spent my wedding night calling my lead investor a roach and pouring wine on him." Craig's face went gray. He looked at Landon, at Nina, at the Axiom logo on her blazer. And for the first time in maybe 30 years, Craig Davenport had absolutely nothing to say. The ballroom was still. 300 guests stood like statues. Phones were out. Someone was recording. The bridesmaid with the Instagram account had already gone live without realizing it. And Brooke Davenport Sullivan, bride of 3 hours, stood in the middle of the dance floor in her $200,000 wedding, mascara starting to run, watching her entire world rearrange itself around a man she once called a charity case with a mop. Brooke moved first. She crossed the dance floor in 3 quick steps, heels clicking on polished wood. Her hands were shaking. Her voice had changed. The sharpness was gone, replaced by something high and desperate. "Landon!" She reached for his arm. He stepped back. "Landon, wait! Oh my God, I had no idea. You have to understand, I was just joking around. You know me. I have a dark sense of humor. I didn't mean—" "You meant every word, Brooke." She flinched. No, it was the wine. I was nervous. I didn't—" "You poured wine on me." His voice was level, no anger, no heat, just fact. "You called me a roach. You told 300 people I clean toilets for a living. You used a microphone to tell this room I was the worst mistake of your life." He paused. "Which part was the joke?"
She had no answer.
Her mouth moved, but nothing came out. Behind her, 2 bridesmaids stood frozen, phones half raised, unsure whether to record or run. Nina stepped forward, not to Brooke, to Tyler. She reached into her clutch, pulled out a business card, and placed it in his hand. "We should talk Monday," she said. Her voice was professional, measured, but the weight underneath was unmistakable. "There are things the board will need to discuss." Tyler looked at the card. His thumb ran across the embossed Axiom logo. He nodded slowly. He understood. This wasn't just a ruined wedding. This was a business crisis with a ticking clock. "Nina," Tyler's voice cracked. "I didn't know. I swear I didn't." "I know you didn't," she said it gently. "That's the only reason I'm handing you this card instead of an email." Craig Davenport appeared again, but this time the swagger was gone. His shoulders were lower. His voice was softer. He extended his hand toward Landon with the kind of smile men put on when they realize they've made a very expensive mistake. "Mr. Blake, Craig Davenport, I don't think we've been properly introduced. I'm in commercial real estate. Perhaps we could—" "We met earlier, Mr. Davenport." Landon's hand stayed at his sides. "You told me to stay out of the way." Craig's hand hung in the air. 1 second. 2, 3. Then it dropped. That was a misunderstanding. I didn't realize—" "You didn't need to realize anything," Landon said. "You saw a black man at your daughter's wedding and decided he didn't belong. That's not a misunderstanding, that's a choice." Craig opened his mouth, closed it, took a step back. For the second time tonight, a Davenport had nothing to say. Landon turned to Gail Sullivan. She was standing near the edge of the crowd, hands clasped, eyes red. She'd watched the whole thing unfold. "Mrs. Sullivan," Landon took her hand gently, "thank you for sitting with me tonight. You were the only person in this room who treated me like a human being before you knew my name." Gail squeezed his hand. "That shouldn't be something worth thanking, sweetheart." "No," Landon said. "It shouldn't." He nodded to Tyler. A small nod. Professional, not cold, but not warm either. The nod of a man who separates the husband from the business and hasn't decided yet what to do with either. Then he walked toward the exit, Nina beside him. No dramatic speech, no revenge monologue, no victory lap. Just 2 people walking through a silent ballroom, 300 pairs of eyes following them to the door. The orchestra hadn't played a note in 10 minutes. The ice sculpture was melting. The cake sat half-cut on a table nobody was standing near. Brooke stood in the center of the dance floor, alone. Her white gown had a red stain near the hem. She'd knocked over a glass during her rush to apologize. The same red wine she'd poured on Landon. The symmetry was almost poetic. She was crying now, mascara streaking down both cheeks. Her hands hung at her sides. The champagne flute was on the floor, shattered. Tyler stood 20 feet away, watching her, seeing her, really seeing her for the first time. His mother walked up beside him, put a hand on his shoulder. "Mom," he said quietly, "I think I just married someone I don't know." Gail didn't answer. She didn't need to. Outside, a town car pulled up. Landon and Nina climbed in. The door closed. The car pulled away from the Belmont Grand Hotel, past the valet stand, past the White Rose Archway, past the sign that read, "Tyler and Brooke, forever starts tonight." Nina looked at Landon. "You okay?" He stared out the window. The hotel shrank in the rearview mirror. "Monday," he said. "We deal with it Monday." Monday morning came fast. Landon sat at the head of a long glass table on the 32nd floor of Axiom Ventures' Chicago headquarters. 8 board members on screen. Nina at his right. Legal counsel at his left. Nobody talked about the weekend. Nobody asked how the wedding was. They didn't need to. They'd already seen it. The bridesmaid's Instagram story, the one she posted without thinking, had been screen recorded, reposted, and shared 4,000 times by Sunday morning. 15 seconds of Brooke Davenport pointing at table 22, face twisted, mid-sentence. No audio. Didn't need it. The body language said everything. The tweet from Tyler's college friend landed even harder. "The bride at this wedding is unhinged. Lamau. Someone come get her." 18,000 retweets by Sunday night. Quote tweets filled with speculation. Who was the bride? Who was the man? What happened? By Monday afternoon, someone connected the dots. A tech journalist with 2 million followers posted a thread. She'd recognized Nina Castillo in the background of the Instagram clip. They'd met at a fintech conference the year before. From Nina, she traced Axiom Ventures. From Axiom, she traced Stratos Freight. From Stratos, she traced the wedding. The headline wrote itself. Bride humiliates man at her own wedding. Turns out he's the billionaire funding her husband's entire company. It hit Twitter first, then Reddit, then every major news aggregator in the country. By Tuesday morning, CNN had it. By Tuesday night, it was the #1 trending topic in the United States. The board call was short. "This isn't personal," said Margaret Ellis, Axiom's longest-serving board member. "This is reputational risk. Our $90 million investment is tied to a CEO whose spouse has become a national symbol of racial prejudice. Institutional partners are already calling." She was right. 2 pension funds that co-invested with Axiom on the Stratos deal had already requested meetings. A family office in Boston sent a 1-line email. "We need to discuss continued involvement." Landon listened. He let every board member speak. Then he said 4 words. "Don't punish the employees." The room went quiet. "Stratos has 200 people," he continued. "Engineers, drivers, warehouse staff. They didn't do this. Tyler didn't do this. His wife did. And I'm not going to let 200 families lose their income because a woman I dated in college can't control her mouth." The board agreed, conditionally. Axiom would maintain the investment, but with new terms. Tyler would complete a leadership development program focused on inclusive workplace culture. Stratos would establish and fund a company-wide diversity initiative, and Tyler would issue a public statement addressing the incident. Not a PR statement, a real one. Tyler got the call Tuesday afternoon. He didn't argue, didn't negotiate, didn't ask for softer terms. "Whatever you need," he said. "I'll do all of it." But the internet wasn't as patient as Axiom's board. Journalists dug into Brooke's social media history. They found a graveyard, deleted tweets from college, screenshots saved by classmates who never forgot, a post mocking Landon by name from 2016, a comment under a friend's photo calling a black classmate ghetto, an Instagram caption from junior year. "Some people just aren't built for this lifestyle," posted over a photo of her sorority house. One by one, the screenshots surfaced, each one worse than the last, each one confirming what 300 wedding guests already knew. This wasn't a bad night. This was a pattern. Brooke's event planning business was the first casualty. She ran a small luxury company called Blush and Bloom Events, specializing in high-end weddings and corporate galas. By Wednesday, her website traffic had spiked, but not from potential clients, from people leaving 1-star reviews. Her inbox filled with cancellations. 3 corporate clients pulled contracts within 48 hours. A fourth, a Richmond law firm that had booked her for their annual gala, sent a formal letter citing values misalignment. By Friday, Blush and Bloom's social media pages were offline. By the following Monday, the business was effectively dead. Tyler's professional life took shrapnel, too. 2 enterprise clients paused their contracts with Stratos Freight pending what they called a review of company leadership and values. His COO pulled him into a conference room and closed the door. "We need to get ahead of this," she said. "Right now, Tyler. Not tomorrow, not next week. Now." Tyler released a public statement the same afternoon. He didn't use a PR firm. He wrote it himself, sitting alone in his office at 9 p.m. "What happened at my wedding was wrong. My wife's behavior toward a guest, a man who has shown me nothing but professionalism and generosity, was inexcusable. I should have intervened sooner. I should have spoken up the moment I saw it happening. I didn't, and I take responsibility for that. Landon Blake deserved better. And to anyone who has ever been treated the way he was treated that night, I'm sorry. We have to do better. I have to do better." It wasn't perfect. It wasn't polished, but it was real. And people felt it. The statement went viral on its own. 80,000 shares in 24 hours. Comments from people who'd been in Landon's shoes. Stories from black professionals who'd sat at their own Table 22s. The hashtag Table 22 trended for 3 days. Tyler filed for annulment the following week. Not divorce, annulment. His attorney argued concealment and fraud. Brooke had hidden her prior relationship with Tyler's lead investor. She had actively prevented Tyler from meeting Landon at the wedding. She had, in the language of the filing, engaged in a deliberate pattern of deception that materially affected the groom's ability to make an informed decision about the marriage. The filing became public record. Another headline, another news cycle, another round of Brooke Davenport's name trending for all the wrong reasons. Craig Davenport didn't escape either. His commercial real estate firm, Davenport Holdings, held 3 municipal contracts in the Richmond area. All 3 contained standard DEI compliance clauses. When video of Craig telling a black man to stay out of the way at a private event surfaced alongside his daughter's scandal, the city of Richmond launched a formal review. 2 weeks later, 1 contract was terminated. The other 2 were placed under probationary review. Craig retained a crisis PR firm. They advised him to stay quiet. For once in his life, he listened. And Landon Blake? He didn't post a statement, didn't do an interview, didn't tweet, didn't go on a podcast, didn't write an op-ed. His phone rang 400 times that week from journalists, producers, and media bookers. He didn't answer a single one. 6 months later, the dust settled, but the landscape looked nothing like it did before. Landon Blake still ran Axiom Ventures from the 32nd floor in Chicago. Same glass table, same camera-off meetings, same refusal to do interviews. Nothing about his daily life changed, because he never let anyone else's behavior change who he was. But he did one thing. He called his alma mater in Richmond, spoke with the dean of financial aid, wrote a check, and established a scholarship fund for first-generation college students working service jobs, the overnight janitors, the weekend caterers, the kids mopping floors at 2 in the morning because the scholarship didn't cover everything. He called it the Table 22 Fund. No press release, no announcement. Just a quiet line item in the university's financial aid catalog that wasn't there before. The first 3 recipients started the following semester. One of them worked the overnight shift at the campus library, the same building where Landon used to push a mop down empty hallways, dreaming about something bigger. Tyler Sullivan rebuilt. It wasn't fast. It wasn't clean. The annulment took 4 months. The paused contracts took 3 months to reinstate. 2 of the enterprise clients came back. 1 didn't. Stratos Freight lost 11% of its revenue that quarter, the worst in company history. But Tyler showed up every day. He completed the leadership program Axiom required. He funded the diversity initiative out of his own pocket, not the company budget. He started speaking at conferences, small ones at first, then bigger, about unconscious bias, about the cost of silence, about what happens when you stand in a room and watch someone get torn apart and don't say a word. At one conference in Atlanta, a young black founder approached him after his talk. "I was at a dinner last month," the kid said. "Investor called me boy in front of the whole table. I didn't know what to do." Tyler looked at him. "You do what I should have done. You stand up, you say something, and you don't wait until it's too late." Somewhere along the way, Tyler and Landon started talking. Not about Stratos, not about board terms or cap tables, just talking. Landon told him about the mop, about the Greek Week party, about the night Brooke called him a charity case in front of 50 people and he walked out a door and never looked back. Tyler told him about the moment Nina said his name, about the feeling in his chest when $90 million and 200 jobs and his entire future rearranged themselves around 5 words. Founder and CEO of Axiom Ventures. "I felt like I was falling," Tyler said. "You were," Landon said, "but you landed right." They weren't best friends, they weren't brothers, but they had something. A respect built on the worst night of one man's life and the quietest night of another's. Brooke Davenport moved out of Richmond in March. She sold her apartment, closed what was left of Blush and Bloom, deleted every social media account she had. She moved back in with her parents and took a junior position at Davenport Holdings, answering phones in an office where her last name used to open every door. Her social circle dissolved like sugar in hot water. The bridesmaids stopped calling first, then the college friends, then the neighbors. One by one, the people who used to fill her weekends and her Instagram grid just disappeared. The last anyone heard, she was living quietly, working quietly. A woman who once stood in a ballroom and declared herself better than everyone, now sitting in a cubicle, hoping nobody recognized her name. Contempt is expensive. It always has been. The people you mock on the way up are the same people you'll meet on the way down, and some of them will be holding the keys to everything you have. Brooke didn't lose her marriage because Landon was rich. She lost it because she showed an entire room exactly who she was. The money just made the consequences faster. So here's my question for you.